I have recently read Hitler's Mein Kampf and was fascinated and struck by the similarities of thought, concepts, perverted ideas, racism, hate-mongering and warmongering that fill its pages with Muhammad's Quran. Even in the Hadiths, as well as in the Charter of Umar, the discriminatory and racist rules and regulations against Christians, Jews and unbelievers are almost identical to the race laws of the Nazis. Can you elaborate on this?
People who have not read the Quran and Mein Kampf will find it extremely difficult to accept what you have just said. Unfortunately, the facts based upon the two books show remarkable similarities, as I shall proceed to show with all the relevant references. Only miles and years distinguished Hitler from his mentor, Muhammad. Der Führer's methods for accomplishing his madness were identical to their prophets. Mein Kampf 676. Men must threaten and dominate men by compulsion. Compulsion is only broken by compulsion, and terror by terror. The lever that coerces compulsion is terror. Hitler simply followed Muhammad's path. Bukhari 4.220. Allah's apostle said, I have been made victorious with terror. Mein Kampf 677. Since our view of life will never share power with another, it cannot cooperate with the existing doctrines it condemns. It is obliged to fight by all available means until the entire world of hostile ideas collapses. Throughout the entirety of the Islamic era, we have heard a singular battle cry. Bukhari 4.386. Our Prophet, the messenger of our Lord, ordered us to fight you till you worship Allah alone. Both men envisioned an eternal battle and total submission. Mein Kampf 677. This corrosive fight for the new program and new view of life demands determined fighters and a forceful fighting organization. The recipe for a favorable result requires the formulation of a declaration of war against all existing order and against all existing conceptions of life in general. Just like Islam, it was the Nazis against the world. The house of Islam forever battles Dar al-Harb, the house of war. Tabari 9.69. He who believes in Allah and His Messenger has protected his life and possessions from us. As for those who disbelieve, we will fight them forever in the cause of Allah, fi sabilillah. Killing them is a small matter to us. The Nazis usurped Muhammad's dogma. The recipe of submit and obey was perfect for empowering Hitler, their tyrant. Mein Kampf 679. The strength of a party lies in the disciplined obedience of the members to follow their leadership. The decisive factors are leadership and discipline. When troops battle one another, the victorious one will be that which is blindly obedient to the superior leader. Ishaq 601. The best men launch spears as if they were swords. They devote their lives to their prophet. In hand-to-hand fighting and cavalry attacks, they purify themselves with the blood of the infidels. They consider that an act of piety. It is hard to distinguish which doctrine was more fixated on violence. Mein Kampf 680. In order to lead a view of life to victory, we have to transform it into a fighting movement. Ishaq 587. Our onslaught will not be a weak, faltering affair. We shall fight as long as we live. We shall fight until you turn to Islam, humbly seeking refuge. We will fight not caring whom we meet. We will fight whether we destroy ancient holdings or newly gotten gains. We have cut off every opponent's nose and ears with our swords. We have driven them violently before us at the command of Allah and Islam. We will fight until our religion is established, and we will plunder them, for they must suffer disgrace. Like Muhammad, Hitler seduced men before he coerced them. He made promises but never delivered. The following Islamic concepts made Hitler's list in Mein Kampf: abrogation, annulment of treaties, confiscation of war booty, distribution of spoils, the parties cut off, fifth, al-khums, conquest, expulsion of non-believers, Jewish businesses to be looted and divided, Jewish land to become communal, Jews to be punished by death, the establishment of the laws of Der Führer, the formation of an army, restrictions on journalists, and the recasting of Christianity. Apart from time and place, Der Führer's list was an awful lot like their prophets. Mein Kampf 698. The Nazis must not become a bailiff of public opinion, but its ruler. It must not be the masses' slave, but their master. Muhammad wasn't much of a listener either. Quran 47.21. Were they to obey, showing their obedience in modest speech, after the matter of preparation for jihad had been determined for them, it would have been better. If the definition of propaganda is artful deceit, Hitler and Muhammad were grandmasters. Mein Kampf 701. On behalf of our view of life, I will strike the weapon of reply from the enemy's hand personally. And how might Hitler accomplish this? Mein Kampf 702. Skillful propaganda. The best proof of this was furnished by the success of the propaganda. I had before me a surging crowd, filled with the most sacred indignation and utter wrath. In this meeting, I became familiar with the pathos and the gestures which mesmerizing 1,000 people demands. Islam and Nazism share an unhealthy trait, the willingness to link sacred to wrath. And neither can be trusted, as they are willing to abrogate treaties which they do not like. Quran 9.3. And a declaration from Allah and His Messenger to all mankind. Allah is free from all treaty obligations with non-Muslims, that is, unbelievers, and so is His Messenger. Confirming the role of seductive verbal expression in achieving victory, Der Führer said, Mein Kampf 704, the emphasis was put on the spoken word because only it is in a position to bring about great changes for general psychological reasons. Enormous world revolutionary events have not been brought about by the written word, but by the spoken word. Bukhari 6.662. Allah Apostle said, some eloquent speech is as effective as magic. Bukhari 9.127. The Prophet said, I have been given the keys of eloquent speech and given victory with terror. So the treasures of the earth were given to me. The study of Islam, like Nazism, is an expose on gang mentality, uncorrupted by Islam or left free to choose. Few, if any, Arabs would have been capable of perpetrating such horrific deeds. Yet as part of Muhammad's gang of ghouls, they fed off each other's rage. Mein Kampf 845. Nazism must claim the right to force its principles on the whole and educate everyone about its ideas and thoughts without regard to previous boundaries. This is an order to impose Nazism on the world and then to indoctrinate the victims. Bukhari 4.196. Allah's Apostle said, I have been ordered to fight all the people till they say, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. Islam and Nazism seduced a sufficient number of men to become popular enough to build a coercive militant force. Both usurped pagan traditions to condition adherents and then establish absolute authority over them. By emancipating his indoctrinated followers from Muhammad's legacy, we free them and ourselves from its scourge. The clues in Mein Kampf that the Nazis were intent on world conquest were not less clear than those found in the Quran. Mein Kampf 9.5.3. The German needs only to be given land by the sword. Bukhari 4.288. Expel disbelievers from the Arabian Peninsula. Quran 2.191. Slay them wherever you find them and catch them, and drive them out from where they have turned you out. When will the world learn to read the words on the page? When will we come to understand that tolerating evil leads to disaster? Islam and Nazism are intolerant dictatorial fighting machines. I can recite you any of 1,000 Quran and Hadith quotes to match these, but instead, I would like our listeners to contemplate the overwhelming similarity of the message, the motivation, and the means Hitler and Muhammad used to attack mankind. Then consider the catastrophic consequences of ignoring or even tolerating Islam's jihadi message.